without further ado, I'm going to get started. The recording has already started, and as has Wordly. I'm Cynthia Holt, and I want to welcome you all. I'm the Executive Director for the Council of Atlantic Academic Libraries. We are here today to hear from our speaker on AI in Canadian archives. Just a few housekeeping things. One, we have started the recording. Wordly is available, and the link was provided to everybody in the invitation and the reminder. We ask that everybody keep their video off and mute during the presentation. There will be time for questions at the end, but there will also be some questions along the way from our presenter today. But we do know that some folks are coming in from low bandwidth areas, so that's why we ask for the cameras to stay off. Mics are more for just to avoid hearing strained noises and things of that nature. But feel free if you're asking a question to unmute and to turn your camera on, or you can put your question in the chat that will be monitored. So without further ado, I would like to acknowledge that CAAL-CBPA members sit on unceded and traditional territories of the Mi'kmaq, Beothuk, Inuit, Wolastoqiyik, and the Pescabatucuddy peoples. Treaties of peace and friendship were first signed in 1725 between the British Crown and the Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik peoples. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. We acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the first peoples of this region, and we express our gratitude as guests on this land. So I'm now going to turn it over to Evan Eccles, who is the Digital Collections Archivist at the University of New Brunswick and also the chair of our Digital Stewardship and Preservation Committee. Evan.
Thanks, Cynthia. And thanks for everyone for attending this webinar on AI in archives. Our speaker today is Scott Jones. Scott is an experienced information professional specializing in library and archive customer experience and education. He holds a master in library and information sciences from Western University and currently works as a library service technician and online facilitator for an Intro to Archives class in Ontario. His expertise includes enhancing user experiences, managing library services, and facilitating online learning. Like Cynthia said, we'll have some time at the end of the session to answer questions, but in the meantime, please feel free to drop any questions as you think of them into the chat. And with that, I'll hand it over to Scott.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thanks for having me. This presentation is based off, initially I presented AI in Ontario archives in a blog post for the Association of Canadian Archivists, which I'm a member of. And I'm going to start by throwing you all for a loop. So, AI in Canadian archives. Warning, AI was used to make this picture. Is there a problem here? Why or not? Why or why not? I just want people's kind of perspective on if there's an issue here with having AI create a picture.
Yes.
Yep. If everyone wants to throw stuff in the chat and just think about that while I go through this presentation, there'll be opportunity to kind of address that as we go. And you're going to see I'm going to bring up a few things that are going to maybe clarify issues and non-issues with AI. And there are many. So I'm going to start with a brief history of AI in general. So early research and theory. The man on the left is Alan Turing. He proposed the Turing test back in the 50s, and this is like early research on AI. And it evaluated the behavior equivalent to that of a human for machines. And then on the right, we have Mr. Donald Hebb, and he created Hebbian theory. He was Canadian. And it's provided a biological basis for many learning algorithms in AI. So AI isn't exactly as new as most people think it is. We're looking at 75 years of work on it. And the answer to that question is no. And it was through the AI presented by Outlook Copilot. All right, so a brief history of AI. So you look at early sci-fi. You have Arthur C. Clarke with The Space Odyssey and HAL. You have Philip K. Dick and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And which most people probably know from the movie name of it, which is coming up in a moment. And then The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert A. Heinlein. So sci-fi kind of took AI, took the worst of it and said, this is going to destroy us. And then in the 80s, you have, Terminator, Blade Runner, which is the movie version of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and then Terminator 2 as well with the T-1000 there. Then maybe you are more familiar with something more modern like Ex Machina or iRobot or even like WALL-E. So, I mean, AI has been in the limelight, part of research for over 70 years now. And then if you look at it today, you have these three fellows, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, Mr. Zuckerberg, all using AI for various purposes, profits, etc. And so the current AI Big Bang. So right now, AI is kind of the poster child for the future. Although it's not the future that's concerning, it is here now. So, I mean, these are just some companies who are the big players in artificial intelligence. So you're looking at IBM, Microsoft, Google, Huawei, Apple, Facebook, all these companies are into AI. Duolingo uses AI. ChatGPT is one most people are familiar with. Gemini is another one, or Copilot, which is the one that is sanctioned for me to use by my employers. So Malcolm X said the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So as I said earlier, the future is not so far away. It's now. It's happening now. So AI around the world, we're looking at if you take some of these articles that I found, imagining the past, generative AI is art, historical interpretation, or fiction. That's in Finland, where a museum is using AI to generate pictures of people in the past, which has certain implications for what you would consider where it's dragging that information from. You also have artificial intelligence, the theory of whether or not it could assist in cataloging digital library books. And Abigail Potter and Mrs. Suzuki wrote or talked about it, did an interview with an article with Brador in 2004 or 2024. Astronomers are currently using AI to observe space. And even the Indian government is leveraging power of AI in Parliament to make us more secure work environment. So you have different ways that AI is being used. It's not something that's coming, it's something that's here now. So let's talk Canada. Once again, warning, AI used to generate this photo. So I don't have the question in here, but another question, what's the problem with this picture? Anybody wants to throw it out there? I can see a couple of things. So one of the things is very centralized on Toronto. Stereotypes, yep. So it's definitely stereotypes.
It's also not the proper Canadian flag. It has 3 maple leaves for some reason.
I believe that's supposed to be. That is something I didn't notice. I thought they were separate, but yeah, there is that too. So there is issues with AI. So there's definitely has to be a human component when using AI. All right, so I'm going to get into AI in archives. So I'm going to start with Ontario's AI framework. So when AI started getting popular, Ontario took the initiative of creating an AI framework. So this emphasized transparency, responsibility, and accountability. So part of this is why I keep saying warning, AI was used here, is because that's part of the transparency and responsibility that the Ontario AI framework suggests using to keep it more transparent and honest, right? I mean, I was in an appointment a few weeks ago with a physiotherapist, and they let me know ahead of time they were using AI to take notes. You know, I mean, this having this framework shows that Ontario is looking at, the government of Ontario is looking at how to make AI more used more responsibly. So there's rules and such. Now it's a framework, so people don't necessarily have to follow it, but it's a starting point. It's a guideline. The Archives of Ontario uses AI to enhance its management and accessibility of extensive collections and historical records. So if you look at the Archives of Ontario, I mean, they could use it more. They are using it as part of their online digital presence and search engine. And then you have also the Canadian Institute of Advanced Research, which people know as CFAR. And CFAR has been doing research in AI for decades, it being the Institute for Advanced Research.
Uh-oh. I think Scott is Scott's frozen.
Yes, that was weird.
Oh,
Oh, there he's back.
There he is.
Okay, all right. All right, so Canadian Institute of Advanced Research in conversation with Canada's role in the future of artificial intelligence, an article that discusses from 2019 that discusses kind of what AI will become, how it's going to solve daily problems, and how it's going to be introduced earlier in education. There's significant, they suggest there's significant potential for AI in healthcare, especially in improving clinical decision making. And this can be applied more generally if you were to include archives and other institutions. And there's several academic and research contributions that have come up in the last few years. So Siam Aloui from University of Laval, he's been at the forefront of integrating digital technologies into archival practices. The Association of Canadian Archivists also has a spotlight on the work of Siam Aloui, and he kind of shows, includes updating archival teaching programs to incorporate digital transformation, and reflects a broader trend in academic archives across Canada. So he's kind of instrumental in kind of writing about the AI use in academic libraries and archives. And I do have another warning here. I used AI to read that article. So that article is available in French, and unfortunately my French is at a basic level, and I was unable to read that without using AI to translate it for me. I did take it to a person who could read French and assured me of the accuracy of the translation and summarization. So, as I just mentioned there, part of using AI in any context is there's still a human element. You still have to verify that the AI is correct or not correct. And if it isn't correct, either choose to not use it or be transparent about what it's not correct about. Another group that's doing AI research is the Internet Archive Canada held a conference in 2023, AI for Libraries, Archives, and Museum Conference in Vancouver. And the conference shared experiences and best practices reflecting the approach to understanding and deploying AI in in memory organizations or in historical type organizations or archives. The investments in AI research and talent across provinces like BC or Alberta also signify a strong commitment to advancing AI industries, including their application in archives. So AI used for academic research and archives. The Vector Institute of Artificial Intelligence is an independent not-for-profit corporation dedicated to AI through research, advancing AI through research. It's a key player in AI for Ontario. And the Institute focuses on deep learning and machine learning, critical technologies for analyzing complex archival data. And then there's also the Inclusive Design for Research Center. It's developed a framework for accessible and equitable AI in education, trying to address equity and accessibility impacts. The guide addresses the rapid advancement of AI within the educational ecosystem. Explores how AI can both benefit and potentially amplify inequities, particularly concerning people with disabilities. So the article, the research that they've done shows that AI has a use, but in education, but it also has issues in itself in that it can be a problem for people with accessibility needs. And I know there are archives, so I made a presentation a poster presentation at the Super Conference of the Ontario Library Association. So at LA Super Conference 2025, I was doing presentations similar to this on Ontario archives and AI. And there I met a fellow who was using AI to read text in his archive. And so if there was what they were doing was if there was a manuscript that say it was damaged and they couldn't read everything, they would use AI to try to read it. So it is something that is in archives already. People are experimenting with it. People are doing it. As I've said earlier, it's now, not the future. And then local and corporate archives. So local archives in Canada, such as those accessible through Archives of Ontario, have a wealth of resources, including government, private documents, photos, maps. These collections are invaluable to research. And they can, Digital Archive Ontario also offers an advanced search for various collections. And so some, Archives Ontario is incorporating AI to assist with its search, much in the same way that Google is, or Bing. As much as people want to rebel against AI and believe that maybe Terminator was right, it's there. Whether or not you like it or not, you probably have used it or are using it maybe without even knowing. So once again, this comes to the more knowledge is power, the more you know is on you. So as it is on the producers to tell people that AI is in use or AI is part of their collective, but it is also on the user to educate themselves. So being educated about it and knowing more about kind of the use of AI and how to use it ethically and how to identify it is also on the user. And in corporate archives, we also see that there's AI can offer advanced methods for managing and analyzing large volumes of data. AI technologies like machine learning and natural language processing can help in organizing, categorizing, and retrieving archival material more efficiently. So it's part of the process. It's not replacing the employee. And if you didn't know, AI is the big thing right now. And so what we're looking at is AI is available in many educational institutions across Canada. You can take courses on AI from coast to coast to coast. So British Columbia Institute of Technology has an AI program. The College of North Atlantic in Newfoundland has a program. Durham College and several other Ontario colleges also have various certificate or programs and such. And McGill University, another one out there that has bachelors and such. And St. Francis Xavier University, Nova Scotia. I'm not sure if they still have it, but I know previously they did have a program on AI. So, I mean, across the country, There are programs if you want to learn more about AI. My belief is that AI, as I've said a couple times here, AI is here. And whether or not you like it or not isn't really the issue. It's there. So the more you know, so the more you can educate on yourself, whether you are for or against it, or kind of in the middle, I think is beneficial for anybody. And so what does this all mean? So this has been a shorter presentation than I'm imagining you guys were expecting, but I'd like to see a lot of discussion afterwards. So what does this all mean? So in my opinion, AI, it's a tool. It's not going to take your job. Everyone who's against it always says AI is going to take your job. It's bad. No. AI is not going to take your job, but it may be used to enhance it. So there are two options that people can do. You can ignore it, fight it, and such, and it's going to be there, and it's not going to take your job. You're going to take your job by going against the grain, and that's fine. People can do that. But what I'm saying is the job isn't being taken by AI. It is assisting you. So if you learn more about it and you understand it, it is a tool, and it is no different than, say, the people who rebelled against the Industrial Revolution. So all those workers that lost their job, and I'm pro-union, all those workers in the 1920s and 1910s and 1890s and such that lost their jobs, they blamed, machinery. And yes, it cost them their job, but it created new jobs. It created a safer environment. It may have gotten children out of the workplace. So there are positives that came out of it, and there are negatives. Yes, I will totally agree that both sides of that. There are two sides to every coin. And learning to move forward with technology. So educating yourself is very important, but also learning to use it ethically. So it's not whether or not we can do it, it's whether or not we can do it ethically is my proposal on. So how can we use AI in archives? We can use it, people use it for research summarization, such as myself here. Creating finding aids, that is a possible way to do it, though once again, you do need a person to double check it. Reading difficult text or translation, it's already happening in Ontario Archives. I know for sure. But I mean, what else could be possible? There are ways that probably we have not even thought that we could use this, once again, ethically. That is a possibility for, furthering the achievements and the process of archives. So Canada's commitment to ethical AI and its proactive approach to AI governance has established it as a pioneer in integrating technology and heritage preservation. AI systems reflect a forward thinking, and this is kind of where I'm going, attitude towards transparency and accountability in AI applications. So this is a positive. Discussion, this dedication ensures that Canadian archives remain at the forefront of preserving culturally significant records with the support of advanced technologies. So this is the key, with its support. So using the technology to present, preserve, and push forward our need and want to preserve history is a common good. So if we can use it in an ethical way, we can make it a common good. So I'm kind of proposing the same question at the beginning as I proposed at the beginning, where after learning how to use AI, how it can be used in archives, what are your thoughts on its use? Can it be useful? How? And then also, what ethical considerations must be given when using AI in archives? This is where I open it up for discussion for anybody who wishes to not necessarily debate me, but just have a discussion on AI in archives.
Thanks for this. I think this is excellent. I want to just, I'm not here to debate. I think AI is an excellent tool, but it is a tool. It does need human interaction, and it needs that ethical layer of morals, and so those biases don't come out, and we have that full transparency lens to follow. If when AI is used, it should have the policies to support and the procedures there for the humans to use it effectively. And I'm really excited to hear all the places that do have AI training incorporated into their programs now, because yeah, it is here. And as humans, we're slow to catch up at things. So I'm just excited to see what comes out with the new generation that's coming out of school to help people like me really incorporate and use AI effectively in the workforce. So thanks.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the stories that I've heard is there is an archive in Illinois that is using AI to generate, using slave records, like slave sales records from the 1700s, feeding it to AI and producing a picture of what that person might have looked like based on their, bill of sale, as it were. And so there's definitely ethical issues there, in that it's going to generate something based on height, width, build, skin color, et cetera, and how accurate is that going to be? Now, I can understand the argument that people are like, well, we don't have pictures of these people, so we don't know. But at the same time, how much bias is going into that? So as long as the institutions, and in Canada, I think we're way ahead on this, institutions are kind of looking at it ethically and following certain frameworks, and attending educational such as this, and writing about ethical use of it. I believe that we can, as a country, and we can, as the society, use AI in a more positive framework and understand that there may be, issues with it.
Jacqueline, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that point about vulnerable populations or historically marginalized populations and the misuse of AI. So I see AI as an important tool, but I also see how it can be misused. And unfortunately, I think given the political climate that we're living in right now, not just in Canada, but around the world, I think that unfortunately AI can be used as a tool to misrepresent populations or political stances or a variety of other issues. And then what ultimately happens is those materials become part of the collective consciousness in an archival collection, and then that misrepresentation feeds further misrepresentation, et cetera. So, really my question is, how do you interrupt that flow, other than just depending on the goodwill of people? And as we've seen with all of the memes and all of the AI generated imagery coming out of the US, for reasons that I don't need to explain to you, it's not being disrupted. AI is being used to create these outstanding, ridiculous depictions of people and things that are going to remain somewhere, either in popular consciousness or in archival collections, as this is what was happening at this time in 2025, and that becomes a truth. And I think we need to be very mindful of that tendency.
Yeah, for sure. So I totally agree with everything you just said. One of the things that I kind of looked at a bit was so as with any tool, AI is not good or bad, it's people using it. So AI can be used to write an essay and submit it at school. AI can be used to create memes, good or bad. AI can be used for political gain, once again, good or bad, or not. So AI as a tool is no different than any other tool that we've had, any other piece of technology that we've had. And I think there's that misconception that people get in their heads it's the tool, not the people. And my opinion is the people, not the tool. So what we got to do is get more educated people, more proactive people, using AI. So as much as people go, it's going to misrepresent us, and so we should, rebel against it. Instead of rebelling against it, my proposal is to use it to rebel against the person using it against you. Not rebel against, don't rebel against the technology, rebel against the people who are using it in a negative manner. I've seen also that through my research, I've seen that various marginalized people are having issues with it. But I think it's a matter of educating people on its use, how to identify, and something that libraries and archives have been doing for a while is identifying misinformation. So if you were to take like AI and pop it into Copilot and say, ask about LGBTQ 2+, you might get all kinds of information, and some of it may be information from, fan fiction rather than actual sources. So this is where it comes into, if you want to use AI, we have to educate people. And if we have to educate people in using the AI, we want to educate them in identifying misinformation, which is something libraries and archives have been doing for decades. So we have to continue the work that we've been doing that, say, in the past we were doing on, like, books and such. And now we're doing digital misinformation. I mean, it started with books, it started with pamphlets, and then it came to, we came to the internet and the age of the computer. And that's kind of where we are now in the digital form. Are there any other questions? Misinformation sucks, yes.
Hey, Scott, so I'm just, go ahead. Elizabeth?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth from Mount Allison University. I have a question about some of the tools that people are using for different projects in archives. I was recently digitizing some material that was originally typed out on a typewriter. When I scanned it, of course, the text is hard to read for a lot of OCR tools. When I ran it through Adobe Acrobat Pro, there's so many different corrections that need to be made, and that tool is both expensive and also not very user-friendly. So I've been looking at some of the options that exist out there for OCR that are more open source, like Tesseract, or there's a programming historian tutorial on pairing Tesseract with also Google Vision, which is AI, to try to come up with a workflow for that. So I was wondering what tools people are using. And then also, I think with regards to the ethics of using AI, part of my concern is like not to be putting money into the pockets of technology companies who are not doing things that are supporting marginalized people. So the more I can do with open source packages and Python or something like that, the better. But I'm curious to find out what tools people are actually using for processes like OCR, and how they're incorporating them into their workflows. If people have any experience with that, or if you do, I'd love to hear.
Looks like the U of Calgary has a back. Were you there? Yeah, for us, it's different. Is for at my institution, we're using Copilot. That is a decision made by our IT department, and it's more to do with the security of it. Though there has been articles recently debating that security. I know a lot of people don't want to use Google, don't want to use Facebook, don't want to use Amazon, that kind of stuff, for various reasons, political or not. And I can definitely relate to that. So choosing your AI assistant is just as important as choosing to be ethical with it. Yeah, so you do get a lot of students who just don't care. And there are many of us who were probably students at one time. And at the time, at that time in our life, we didn't care either. But whatever the case, whatever the issue was, because a lot of younger people think they know it all. But it's part of our kind of job, I guess, to educate people, including the youth. And I mean, it's really up to the user. As I said, users are the pro and con of all technology, I believe. And so it's more about educating the users. Seems to be a lot of good discussion going on in the chat here.
Well, Scott, let me ask you something.
Yep.
So earlier you mentioned the possibility of using AI to write finding aids. I'm just curious if you talk a little bit more about that, like how that would work exactly.
So,
yeah.
So I'm going to be honest, that was more me speculating, but but if you were to take so let's say you have a finding aid, and you're trying to figure out, you have a template for it, and you put it into you put the documents into AI, and perhaps it formats it for you better. Perhaps it summarizes documents. I know summarization is something that some of us use AI for. I know I've used it to read articles, as I said, with Mr. Aloui, because I do not speak French, particularly well. And so it's like, I mean, if I can generate documents, so people who are using it unethically, or some students using it to generate an essay. So what I'm thinking is that if they can generate an essay, and let's say the essay is mostly correct, then could it not generate a finding aid? Could it not generate a summary of the documents in a particular series? Now, once again, you're going to go through the series, but then you're going to have to summarize it. And if you say feed it to AI, is it more, I guess, is it more efficient or not? So that was just me speculating. I'm going to be honest with that one, as an example. But I mean, so I'm going to propose this question. How else do people think they could use AI in an archive setting? Like what practical, ethical uses do you think are possible? I mean, we can spitball here. What can we use it to do? If anybody has any ideas on that.
Well, coming from, sorry, should have introduced myself. I work at Dalhousie University in the archives and records management units, and I see it as like, from an archive standpoint, the looking at how things have changed. Like if you have, say, student records in there, what has been collected as part of being the student experience, and kind of taking that and how things have changed through the institution at that point in time. And even looking at it from the facilities and the buildings and the campus, and actually collecting all of that, presenting it in a way that actually gives you a foundation to start from, but not an end place, if that makes sense.
I mean, like AI, so AI, as much as I say AI is here, it's not necessarily fully developed. So where it is now, there are companies spending millions, if not billions, on developing AI, be they AI learning or robotics. And I mean, what's possible now compared to what might be possible in 5 years. I mean, in 2019, CFAR was expanding, kind of looking at it and going, okay, in the future, this is how AI might be used. And to a degree, they were correct that AI is being used more commonly, and the AI is being used more by youth in schools. Now, it's not necessarily laid out the exact way they predicted, but I mean, that's the wonders of prediction, is they're never completely correct. And so just kind of imagining, okay, what can we do with AI now? What's the possibility of what we can do with AI in 5 years, in 10 years, you know? So just constantly thinking of the possibilities. I'm all for possibilities. I'm all for the science fiction that became science fact. So if you look at cell phones, that'd be thank you, Star Trek. If you look at Google Glasses, once again, thank you, Star Trek. If you look at the waterbed, thank you, Heinlein, I believe. You know, I mean, there's what we imagine now can become possible in the future. And we've just got to consider and always consider the ethical use of the possible, because there are good and bad ways to use all technology. If you were to look at old ads from the 20s when electricity was becoming a thing, there's ads that say electricity can kill you or will kill you, is the way it's worded. You know, nuclear energy. It can be created as a bomb, sure, but it can also produce energy in your home or workplace. You know, hydro power, same thing. It can produce, it can be devastating. Look at a flood, or it can be a controlled energy producer. You know, so all these things, there are good and bad things for them. And so when considering the possibilities, sure, there's always going to be bad things that you can use anything for. But there is also, you got to look at the good, and then you got to weigh the good for the bad and the ethical usage of such things. Is there any more questions, comments, concerns? Anyone want to go on a tirade about why AI is horrible? I'll listen.
Well, okay. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Well, okay. Well, thank you. This was great. This was a great discussion, and really appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, we'll have this recorded for everyone. Cynthia, is there anything needs to be said?
Only
sorry.
that the recording will be loaded, and anybody who registered for the session will be notified when the recording is available.
Mitchell was asking if the slides will be shared.
They will indeed. We
I
share
can
them
send
when
the
we
slides.
share. Yeah, we definitely share the slides as well.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you again, Scott. Thanks everyone for coming to the session. I hope this gave you a lot to think about AI and archives. It sure did me. And with that, we will say goodbye.